it's Miss Lewandowski again. So today we are going to learn a new math lesson about quadrilaterals, okay? Before we even begin, I just want you to take a second to say the word quadrilaterals because it's a pretty tricky word to say because it's very long, okay? So the word is quadrilaterals. Everybody take a second to say right now, quadrilaterals. Go. Did you say it? If you did, awesome job. Give yourself a pat on the back because that's kind of a tricky word. Okay, before we get into today's lesson, I also want to point out a connection that I made. So before I ever start a lesson, I always try to think if there's a connection that I can make in my life. Okay, so quick story time about Miss Lewandowski. When I was younger, I used to ride around on something called a quad. Okay, if you don't know what a quad is like a big motorcycle with four wheels on it. Okay, so my dad owns a quad, and me and my sisters would ride around on the quad and have a lot of fun doing different things. But when I heard the word quadrilaterals, I immediately thought of the quad I used to ride around on. And I made that connection because a quad has four wheels, just like a quadrilateral has four sides, because the word quad means four. So that's just a quick little story about Miss Lewandowski and a connection that I made. If you made your own connection, awesome job. If you didn't, that's okay, because we're going to learn more about quadrilaterals now, so that maybe you can make different connections. Okay, so we are going to dive right in to meeting the quadrilateral family. Okay, so the quadrilateral family is just like our rectangle or our triangle family, our triangle family that we met last time. So they're very good friends of mine, Mrs. Stonehenge, Mrs. Van Duzer, and Miss Clark. Okay, before we dive into meeting the family, I just want to really quick go over what exactly is a quadrilateral. Well, a quadrilateral is a flat shape that has four straight sides. Okay, so down below you can see different quadrilaterals that I've put on here. So one thing that all of these things have in common, all these shapes, is that they all have four sides. They're all quadrilaterals. Okay, even though they look a little different, they're all quadrilaterals. Each one of these has a certain name, and we're going to learn about just a couple of them in our quadrilateral family today. Okay, so before we move on to that though, there's something that I want to just kind of touch upon because these could get a little bit confusing because sometimes you may think these are quadrilaterals, but these pictures are not quadrilaterals, and let me tell you why. This first one, you might think, oh, it has four sides, so it has to be a quadrilateral, right? Well, it actually is not because it has curved sides. And a quadrilateral has to have four straight sides. So this one is not a quadrilateral because the sides are curved. Okay? This one, this has four lines, but not all the lines are connecting together. So therefore it is not a quadrilateral because all the sides need to be connecting. So there's a big gap here, so that means it is not a quadrilateral. Okay? This one right here, you might think it is, but if you go back and count the sides, let's do that together right now to see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, so because it has more than four sides, that is not a quadrilateral, because a quadrilateral needs to have four sides only. Okay. Before we move into meeting our quadrilateral family today, I just want to talk about two different phrases that you're going to hear throughout today's lesson. Okay? One of them is called parallel lines. So parallel lines are two lines that never touch each other. Okay, this is an example of a pair of parallel lines. You see how these two lines, if you kept drawing them or if they kept on going, they would never touch or never cross paths. They would just keep on going, never touching each other. Okay, that is parallel lines. So this example right here, that would be not parallel because they end up crossing like this. So they are not parallel lines because they make a cross. They cross each other, okay? So parallel never crosses, okay? So for example, in this shape we have right here, that square, so these solid lines show the square of the shape, okay? I drew these little dotted lines to show what it would look like if you kept on drawing the lines. So I look at this shape and I look at, firstly, this line and this top line and this bottom line. I see that if I kept on drawing those lines, they would never touch each other. So that's one pair of parallel lines. It has one pair because those two lines would never touch. I'm going to come and look at this line and this line going across from it too. And I see that those two lines also would never touch each other because if I kept on drawing them, they would all keep going up and up and up and down and down and down and never touch. So those are another set of parallel lines. So this shape, this square, it has two sets of parallel lines. Okay? This shape over here, if I look at this one, firstly, I'm going to look at this top line along with this bottom line. Okay? Looking at those two lines, same thing. If I kept drawing them out, they would never touch each other. They would keep on going, having their own paths, never crossing. Okay? So that would be one pair of parallel lines. I'm going to look at these two lines now on the side. This one and this one. Well, are those two going to cross? Let me see. If I kept drawing my lines, oh, you see how they cross up here and they make that cross? Well, that would mean that they're not parallel because parallel means that they never touch. Those two lines would end up touching, so those ones are not. So this shape right here, it would only have one set of parallel lines. Okay? Another thing that I want to point out is right angle. So if you remember from our triangle lesson, we learned about Robbie right triangle. He has one right angle. That means that that perfect L, there's an angle that makes a perfect L shape. Okay, that's a right angle. Okay, these two angles that I drew down here, those would not be perfect right angles. So they're not right angles because it doesn't make that perfect L shape. This first one right here, this one's kind of like the L fell over a little bit, and it's kind of like he's leaning over. So that one's not a right angle because it's not perfect L. Same with this one right here. This one, the L kind of stretched out a little too far, so that one's not a perfect right angle either because it's not that perfect L shape. Okay. Now we are going to go on and I'm going to introduce you to our family of quadrilaterals. Okay. The first member of our family is Sally's square. She has 4 equal sides. If you look at all 4 of her sides right here, she has 4 equal sides. They're all the same length. And she has 4 right angles, which means each of her corners make that perfect L shape. Okay? Another attribute about Sally's square is that she has 2 sets of parallel lines. Okay? Remember, 2 sets of parallel lines. That means that this set right here, so this line along with this one, they're never going to touch each other. They're always going to keep going. And the same with this top line and this bottom one. They're never going to touch. They're just going to keep on going. So she has 2 sets of parallel lines. Okay. This right here is Rudy rectangle. So Rudy rectangle has 2 sets of equal sides. He's a little grumpy and he's a little rude at times. That's what he's thinking right now. But he's a nice guy. So he has 2 sets of equal sides. So this side is the same length as this side, just like this side is the same length as this side. All 4 of them aren't the same length like Sally's square, but 2 of them, these 2 and these 2, are the same length. Okay? He also has 4 right angles, just like Sally's square did. They all make those perfect L's. And he has 2 pairs of parallel lines. This top and this bottom, they're never going to touch each other. They're going to keep on going. Same with this line and this line. They're just going to keep on going up, never touching. Okay, so two pairs of parallel lines. Next we have Tilly Trapezoid. So Tilly Trapezoid, she says, my name is Tilly and I'm pretty silly. Do you like my parallel lines? So she has four sides just like all the other quadrilaterals do. And she only has one pair of parallel lines. So that's where she's a little different from square and rectangle. Because if you look here, these lines that I highlighted in red, that's a set of parallel lines because, like I said, they're never going to touch each other. They're just going to keep on going. But if you look at these two, this line and this line, eventually they're going to end up crossing. So that is not a parallel set of lines. Only this one. So she only has one set of parallel lines. Okay? And finally, we have Ricky Rhombus. So Ricky Rhombus, he gets a little confused sometimes. And Ricky Rhombus, he's kind of like Sally Square because he has four equal sides. They're all equal or the same length. One thing that's different though is that he has no right angles. If you look at his angles, this one right here along with this one, they're too small. Okay? This is a perfect L. Those angles, it looks like they kind of fell over a little bit. They're too little. They're not perfect L's. And this top one and this bottom one, they're a little too big to be right angles. So they're too wide. So those are not right angles either because they're not that perfect L. So Ricky Rhombus, he has those four equal sides, but he has no right angles. Okay? So, just a quick review after meeting our quadrilateral family. We learned about four different quadrilaterals today. We learned about Sally Square. So Sally Square has those four equal sides, four right angles, so those perfect L's, and she has two sets of parallel sides. So this set going this way and this set going this way. She has two sets, okay? Rudy Rectangle, he's a little different. He's kind of the same but a little different because he also has two sets of parallel sides, this way and this way. He also has four right angles, but he only has two sets of equal sides. The top and the bottom are equal, and then the sides are equal. Okay? That's Rudy Rectangle. Then we had Tilly Trapezoid. So Tilly Trapezoid, she had those four sides just like they all do, but she only had that one pair of parallel sides, the ones that would go this way. Okay? Because remember when we tried to trace those, it crossed. So she has one pair of parallel sides. And finally we have Ricky Rhombus, who he has four equal sides, but he has no right angles. Okay, just the four equal sides, no right angles. Okay, so I hope you guys know a little bit more about quadrilaterals. If you are still stuck, you can ask your teacher for some more help, but I hope this lesson was helpful and that you can go and teach someone now about quadrilaterals. Awesome job, friends. I will see you next time. Bye.